Happy April Fools, everybody. And if you live in New England, this is Mother Nature's way of playing an April Fool's practical joke on you. Thanks a lot. Anyway, here's our Nikon Coolpix S9100 review. And this camera follows up the S8100, which we actually really liked. It was a great low-light, compact camera. And you'll notice that on the S9100, not much has changed. The only thing that Nikon really has done is boosted the zoom from a 10x optical to an 18x optical zoom. We also get 9.5 frames per second continuous shooting versus last year's 1.8 frames per second, and that's at full resolution. The shutter button and the mode dial have played do-si-do. We have some new continuous modes which were tacked onto this camera, and also we get image effects. Now the S9100 is roughly the same size as the S8100, only now we have this little switch here for a pop-up flash. We get the 4-way directional pad with circular control dial on the back, and that's handy to have. And this camera, of course, records to SD, SDHC, and SDXD cards. In the back we have a 921,000 pixel display, and that is superior to the Canon PowerShot SD4500 IS's display. Shooting with this camera was great. It has a 9-point autofocus system or 99-point manual box system, meaning you can move the box throughout the screen to designate a specific focal point. It also has a 256-point metering system. However, like the recently reviewed Coolpix P500, its vibration reduction system in video mode was inadequate. It was better because we don't have a 36x optical zoom like the P500 does, but we still had a bit of jitter madness going on. In still mode, the hybrid 5-way vibration reduction system did a great job. We never had any problems locking down our focus. This camera is light on manual controls, but we do get an ISO range of 160 to 3200, and we have a decent white balancing system. But let's shift that dial over to the effects portion of the mode dial, and we'll see we have soft, nostalgic sepia, high contrast monochrome, high key, low key, and selective color. We like Nikon selective color over Canon's color accent because it was a lot easier to scroll through the color panel. Also, we get the same exposure slider system, allowing us to adjust the hue, vividness, and brightness via sliders. This camera's continuous mode is very robust, and it matches the P500. We have continuous high, low. We also have a pre-shooting cache, and 120 frames per second, of course at 1 megapixel, and 60 frames per second at 2 megapixels. There's also a best shot selection and a multi-shot 16, so this camera is very stocked when it comes to fast action capture. When it came to image quality, Nikon carried over the same 12.1 megapixel 1/2.3 inch CMOS sensor with the company's XP processing and back illumination for low light sensitivity. So we attained the same image quality as we did on the S8100. Any image you see in the 8100 review you could basically apply to this camera. But basically the summary was low light was very good on this camera, noise management was great, especially compared to the PowerShot SD4500 IS. Bright light, very good performance, especially macros. There were some entry-level image aberrations, purple fringing, smearing, off focus. But one thing we loved about this camera was its color palette and its ability to adjust the colors right from within the camera. In video mode, we got some additional frame rates added to the table. In addition to 1080p at 30 frames per second, we have 720p at 60 frames per second. We have iframe shooting. There's slow motion capture as well. Video quality on the whole was impressive. It matched the Canon PowerShot SD4500 IS in low light. However, in bright light, we gave the slight edge to the SD4500 IS. So now it's time for our InfoSync diagnosis with the Nikon Coolpix S9100. For the full review, go to infosyncworld.com. So you can see all of our image samples and video samples, but for now, let's give you the 411 on the S9100. If you have an S8100 or you are planning on getting an S8100, you're not going to miss out on much. You're just going to get a bigger zoom, you're going to get image effects, it's a faster camera, and it has a few minor design tweaks that really don't affect the overall performance of this camera. This is more of a $30 update to the S8100 than it is its own entity. And for that, we recommend checking out the PowerShot SD4500 IS or sticking with the Coolpix S8100. But if you really want a larger zoom and the aforementioned features within this review, then the S9100 is definitely worth a look. Until next time, I'm Mike Perlman for InfoSync World.